All right, thanks for joining me, everyone. Charles Moscowitz here. Welcome to the program. Monday through Friday, 12 noon. I go live here at YouTube. And my guest is Jeanette Castellano. She is with AAA, a spokesman for the great National Auto Club, AAA. Jeanette, before we talk about AAA and driving in these very perilous times of the COVID virus, could you give my listeners a thumbnail on the overall services of AAA?
That would take us a few more minutes
Oh,
than
I
just a quick elevator speech, but yes, I'm happy to. And thanks for having me, Charles. So
welcome.
AAA has been around for more than 115 years. And during that time, we've been an advocate for motorists and travelers alike. Everything from roadside service to replacing your battery, helping you when you're on the road, but also travel. We provide a lot of resources to our members when they are looking to book a quick trip or a vacation they've been longing to plan for years. And of course, we offer tons of discounts and rewards. So a lot of people think of us about roadside assistance, but we are well more than that. And we serve more than 60 million members, across North America.
And I can attest to it. I've used AAA services over the years to give my car a jump start. I've had one situation where I had a flat tire, and AAA came out and did a replacement that was good enough for me to get to a service station. Um, I've used AAA, my family, to for vacation. I don't know if you do this now. Maybe I'm dating myself, but we used to go to an office, and they gave us triptychs and a
Triptychs.
full.
I knew exactly what you were going to say. We still offer triptychs, but we also have them online, and that has
uh,
been hugely popular, especially right now during the pandemic.
Now, speaking of which, I've noticed that when I go out to drive, and I live in a big city, I live in Boston, that there aren't as many cars on the road right now, and people are driving very poorly. I think because they're driving less, and oftentimes they've been isolating, and they've been in the house for maybe a week or two, not driving. So it's almost like they've lost their skills. So my advice is that if you are going to drive, you have to be a little extra careful right now because people are doing some pretty stupid things out there.
Yeah, we always want to be safe on the road, especially if you haven't been behind the wheel in a couple of days, a few weeks or months because you've been quarantining or just staying at home. Make sure your hands are on the wheels, your eyes are on the road, and that you're making smart decisions to keep everyone safe on the road.
Now, Jeanette, in these times of virus, when many of us are fearful of coming into contact with this horrible disease, what do you suggest is the proper preparation if you are going to go out and drive? Should you bring like my wife says, a COVID kit with you, and or what should you bring?
Yeah, well, I mean, no matter if you're going down the street or you're taking a road trip 50 miles or more from your house, we always recommend taking your face mask and if you can gloves. One of the things we look a lot at is, in addition to driving your car, gas prices and people are filling up. So, if
Mm.
you don't have gloves when you're filling up, a great thing to do is take a plastic bag, but not even at the pump when you're traveling, so that you have a barrier between your fingers and whatever you're touching. So at the pump, you use that plastic bag or a Ziploc bag. So when you're touching the screen, you're using that when you're filling up at the pump. And then when you get back in your car, hand sanitizer, right? Make sure you're cleaning your hands off. If you've got disinfectant wipes, you may want to even wipe down your interior, but also, credit card or anything else you touched once you were outside of the car.
Right,
So
right.
hand sanitizers, face masks, and gloves where you can, at a minimum when you get behind
No,
the wheel.
no. I mean, I have a really high quality hand sanitizer which I keep in the coffee bin at the front seat,
Mhm.
and I use a Clorox wipe to pick up the gas pump and to do anything else out there. Um, it is it. I think that, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't believe it's advisable to wear the mask in the car if there's no one else in the car because there's already been a few cases where, I mean, while the mask is necessary, it has its own health hazards. You're rebreathing in your CO2. You're breathing, and it makes you dizzy. It's not healthy to keep it on for too long. And there's already been a few cases where someone has passed out while driving and there was an accident. So, what do you advise in terms of wearing the mask in the car when you're driving?
Yeah. Well, I'm not the health expert, but what I can tell you CDC says is when you're around people, keep your 6 feet distance. And if you're within that or close to someone, to wear your mask. So if you are in the vehicle and you're traveling with family, that is at your discretion if you're going to wear your mask or not. If you're not wearing your mask, we do recommend that you store it properly. Some folks do hang it on their rearview mirror, and that can obstruct your view. So, put it in a glove box or in your purse or, your pocket. Just make sure that wherever you're putting it, if it's not on, it's not obstructing your view from the road.
Right.
But though,
And
some people are,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt you, but,
no.
some folks continue to do some ride sharing. In those situations, it may not be your car and you may feel more comfortable wearing that mask. Again, going back to CDC recommendations that they're putting out there related to social distancing.
Right. And I mean, I had a situation recently where I had to drive a family member from the airport to her home. And, yeah, I basically had the family member wear her mask in the back seat, but I did not wear a mask because I'm not comfortable wearing it while driving for a long period of time. And in this
Mhm.
case, I had to drive someone to Cape Cod, which was about an hour, hour and
Mhm.
a half drive. But what I did do is I left the windows open and I made sure the air was circulating in the car and that my guest had the mask on in the back. Was I operating with good safety measures there? You think?
Again, not the health expert, but I
Understood.
think wearing the mask when you're around other people is important, and you want to take care of yourself and limit exposure.
Okay. And do you have any other advice to for my audience with regard to driving in these perilous times?
Yeah, people we quarantine for quite some time. We're still staying at home, but the roads there are more. We're seeing more people on the roads. Not what we typically see. Excuse me, not what we typically see during the summer, but there are many people still taking road trips. And if you're one of them, we just recommend doing your research. We typically do research before we take summer trips, but this summer it's especially important. So, and it's not just knowing what to pack, but where you're going and how you're getting there. So you mentioned TripTix. AAA has our
Mhm.
TripTix online, and you can find some great information, not just how to get from point A to point B, but if you are making stops, what's open at a rest stop. You
Ah,
also
good.
want to plan out your trip and limit, if you can, the number of stops you take. I just went on a trip myself. It was a 7 hour trip, and we decided we'd make one stop to fill up for gas and use the restroom, but we brought our own food. And that's something people need to think about bringing more supplies with you, not just, for that road trip itself while you're on the road for 7 hours, but when you're getting to where you're going, you're going to want to, again, limit exposure. So the more food you can bring or the supplies, especially cleaning supplies, it's important because, again, protecting ourselves and just limiting exposure is important during this time. AAA, if you visit our TripTix website, you can also find AAA's COVID travel restriction map. And
Good.
that provides you with information on what's open beyond just rest stops and restaurants. But are there regulations in place in certain states or municipalities that you're driving to? Because a lot of states now do have that quarantine. Depending on where you're coming
Yes.
from or where you're going to, you could be required or asked to stay inside for 14 days. And if you're taking a vacation, and you want to explore and you're going to somewhere where you are recommended to quarantine, you're not going to have that great of vacation. So, really, again, it goes back to doing all the research you can above and beyond, having all the information in hand and the last minute information because things are rapidly changing.
Now, does the triptych offer, besides practical information about COVID, like what's open and closed and what's drive up window or what's roadside drop off services?
Yeah, it may
Do
not
you
have
also
it,
understood?
will vary depending on what you're looking at, but the basic information in there, especially when it comes to rest stops or
Hmm.
certain gas stations and things like that.
And what about like in New York State? Because I'm in Massachusetts, but I believe that they are adding various states to a list of where you're really not supposed to go to New York,
Mhm.
and if you do, you can get a pretty big fine,
Yep.
or you have to quarantine and bring like some kind of a proof that you've been tested and that kind of thing. Do you give that sort of information on the triptych, or should people go to the CDC website for that?
I would say both, right? There's so much information out there. You want to be as educated as you can. But on through TripTix on the AAA COVID-19 travel restriction map, we are adding that information. related, like you're saying, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey. It will link you, it'll provide some information and likely link you out to where you can find more information. But yes, that information is there. We want to help travelers be as prepared as they can be before they hit the road. That also includes making sure your car is road trip ready too, right? Cars have been sitting idle, they're not driving nearly as much. Charles, you said you've called AAA for batteries and
Tires.
for tires. And I tell you, we answer more than 33 million calls a year. We were working with a member about every 15 seconds. And the top three things are lockouts, batteries, and flat tires. So make sure your car's in tip-top shape before you hit the road.
Absolutely. Check your tire pressure. Maybe make sure you've changed the oil recently. See what date. Usually, the car in the upper left corner of the dashboard would have a date where you need to change the oil and that sort of thing. And the obviously we want people to go to the AAA website, which is where
AAA.com to get all your information.
All right.
And for TripTik specifically, I would say triptik.aaa.com.
Okay, great. All right. Well, Jeanette Castellano, I want to thank you for joining me this afternoon. This is great public service. I really feel good because I know that I've maybe saved someone's life in the bigger picture, but in the immediate, I've helped improve someone's trips by making these references. So I want to thank you for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you for having me, and stay safe.
Thank you. You too. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you, Jeanette.